Pause and play AI with Elliott, Danker, and Daniel Kerson.
Hi, I'm Elliott Danker, and welcome to Pause and Play AI together with Dan Kerson, who is an AI consultant, by the way. And we got together over lunch talking about our own experiences with AI. And I think I was sharing with you some of my frustrations then about trying to learn AI. But tell us a little bit about your experience and how you got into the whole AI space, because you've always been a tech guy.
Well, yeah, I have. So I got into what is now deemed a generative AI consultancy. Maybe I'd say now heading just under 2 years ago. It was something that I think most people have only been getting into for the last 2 years, at least, since ChatGPT came out. And so I've been riding this wave of learning, experimenting for the last 2 years, and the amazing thing is it's still evolving, and this is something that I'm acutely aware of, and that's why I'm constantly amazed by the technology and how everyone is gradually coming on board. But that's something that I'm quite interested with this podcast to try to explore, because it's still something that not everyone is jumping on, which is it's understandable because it's so new. It's a revolution in terms of technology, but there's lots of voices out there saying it's a good thing, it's a bad thing, it's a hype. That's something that's quite new that I've been picking up on. So yeah.
Yeah, I recently did a piece with a good friend of mine, Damien Kopp, and he looks at it as technopolitics because, and not to say that AI is what's at fault, but because AI just happens to be right in the middle of all of it. But you know, looking at it from the consumer lens, regular people, mere mortals like you and I, one of the things that fascinates me most about AI, or generative AI, as you put it, is maybe this can be my friend, maybe this can be my personal assistant and make me more productive. How should I view this, and how can I make something like ChatGPT my best friend? I say please all the time, by the way.
Yeah. Well, this is great because everybody, I mean, the takeoff of ChatGPT itself is in the millions of users and growing. It's the fastest growing app out there at the moment, and people are using it and experimenting. But you know, a lot of people aren't really using it to its full potential. So I'm exploring all the technologies in terms of your ChatGPT, something called custom GPTs, workflows, how to connect all your apps together and make it into one super productivity enhancing second brain for you. I'm looking at everything in terms of picture creation, video creation, audio creation. It's absolutely. I mean, I've written a few blogs about this, and one of the ones that hit a light bulb with a lot of people. I just said basically it is magic, even though I am from a tech background and I know how this stuff works, and it is on the face of it, it is, even I think it's magic, but there is, how do I say, there is logic behind it, and it's not thinking. It's you think it's thinking, but it's not really thinking. But I can delve into that further, because that could be another podcast topic in itself. But yeah, so the whole idea is that I'm really aware of, on a business level, big businesses, your IBMs, your Lenovo, they're all bringing on AI. They're training all their people. I've spoken to people. They have their internal courses that they're kind of going through, like, oh, okay, I've got to learn about machine learning, and I've got to learn about prompting, and not everyone is sort of, they see it as a chore, but I feel that they're not really understanding its potential. they're using things like Copilot, which comes
Okay.
with Windows, ChatGPT, obviously, and so that's the big companies. They're using it as a productivity enhancer. You know, I need to write a letter, I need to write a report, I need to put all this stuff together, and I need to summarize it. We've got people in the middle-sized companies that are exploring AI via consultants like me.
Okay.
And you have your entrepreneurs, your one-man shows, who a lot of them I find are they're just using it on their own and experimenting, which is very impressive. So I've spoken to a lot of people that have gone into this thing called custom GPTs, which is a level above your ChatGPT that you see on, when you go to chatgpt.com.
I've been experimenting with this myself in school, and I'm quite glad that at the tertiary level here in Singapore, we are quite open with ChatGPT. Of course, we have things like a declaration of originality. So, how did you use AI, and what did you improve from what AI suggested? So it still engages that mind to think. And of course, we're going to roll into our weekly segment called "Help Me AI," where Dan Kerson, the AI consultant, teaches me something about AI. This week, of course, custom GPT. And now, while you're setting that up, I just want to draw back reference to a comment you made earlier on, that you look at it as magic. And I can imagine, but because you're technically savvy, right? I can imagine some people who look at it as magic, but we're not here to worship AI or to fight it. And that's what we're going into right now with Help Me AI. How can this AI be our personal assistant, our co-pilot, as one of it is called?
Well, it all comes down to what are you doing on a daily basis that can be. You want to think about it as something you could delegate to somebody, an intern, or just somebody that hasn't got the wealth of your knowledge, but you can just get them to do a task every day, or it possibly could be every hour. Like sending out emails, for instance. It's something that you know how it's done. You can actually break it down into steps. So you know that you have to write something here, then you'd have to go to another place and suck another piece of information out here, put it together, and then do something with it. So we all have these, how do you say, workflows that we are doing daily. We need to understand what we're doing, and sometimes we might not have anything. And that's why I kind of I'm quite aware of, don't try and fit AI into something that would not work. And that's probably a good thing to understand with our discussions, is what can it do, what it can't do. And obviously there's the other idea of the hype about it. We've got all these new things coming out with Manos from China that can basically use your credit card and go out and book stuff. But I'm also into the whole governance side of it, and how we don't want it to start spending your credit card and not knowing what it's spending it on.
Oh, it'll spend on quite exciting things that come to my doorstep. And definitely these are some of the topics that we're going to address as we go along in this series. So you mentioned that before you build a custom GPT, what are you using it for? So let's say and whenever I prompt GPT, I tend to say, you are a journalist, to start things off. So for someone like me that's creating regular podcasts, how do you see custom GPT helping me?
Well, as you say, we have this framework for prompts, which you can actually put into a normal chat GPT. As you said, you give it a role, you give it a task. Now there's different frameworks for prompting. So again, we could do another whole show on prompting. Just the whole idea of giving it a context,
Okay.
even the type of language you use. So there is research into saying that if you use super adjectives, like saying you
Okay.
are an amazing researcher in the area of finance, and if you put
Right.
these, there is actually research say if you actually do put these adjectives into there, you're like pumping it up. Basically, you're pumping up
Okay.
the LLM. You're saying
Like saying
you are
clean.
the best of the best.
Okay.
You never make mistakes. You can
Okay.
explicitly put that. You never make mistakes. It's like, so there's these little nuggets as well.
Okay.
So your prompt can be as long as you like, to be honest now, because
Alright.
there's something called a context window, which now with ChatGPT 4.0 is 1 million tokens, and that is without going online, without going on ChatGPT to work it out. I think it's a few books.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a few books long, and prompting is it's a minefield. There's so many little nuggets that I could talk about. I mean, I don't want to divert too much, but okay, let's ground this.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, grounding is another interesting word. You have to ground your prompts as well. You have to say you are only going to be directing to this area. Say if it's journalism, or if it's in a particular area like water consumption, you tell it just stick to this part of the domain that you're focusing in on.
So, like, you're a meticulous journalist that specializes in geopolitics, for example.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then going a little bit back to your workflow and what you do daily. You also want to do a sort of a step by step in your prompt. You want to say, right, first of all, you must have this. Second step, you must do this. Third step, you must do this. And this is actually something called chain of thought prompting, which is really, it's actually come to light as well because of DeepSeek, the China LLM, because it actually started showing, when you started prompting, it actually showed you its own chain of thought. So it actually tell you on screen what it's actually doing. Step one, the user's asked me to do this. I will go now and and then step two, it actually shows you. So chain of thought is quite a technical term. It's just steps, and if you wanted to explain to somebody how you do your job, you would literally say, right, first of all, I want you to go do this, go to this file, and then open it up, and then, that's what you're doing with the prompts. So that's another idea. So step one, as you know, you said your role. You are this. You are a journalist. You are an academic. Step two, you give it a task. Step three, you'd give it some instructions of how to run that task, and then you'd go into how you'd like that output. How would you like that? Would you like that as a list, a PowerPoint presentation? So you're telling it how to, because otherwise, again, it will guess. It would just guess what you want. It wouldn't. The first thing that came into its probability mind. I don't want to say its mind.
Right. So it's guessing, or that's the part where people tend to say that ChatGPT is hallucinating. I've heard this term before, but really, what the AI is doing is it's making its own assumptions because you didn't give it enough parameters. In the prompt, you didn't give it enough steps. At this point, I think a lot of people will be saying, and I'm sure you and I have worked with interns before, and we faced that situation. If I've got to explain to you step by step, I might as well do it myself. And it's easy to fall into that trap without realizing, but if you explain it once to this AI, it's going to save you so much time. It's seconds, just like that.
Yes, exactly. So that's why I go back to, is AI right for you? So if it's something which is I need to explain to you once, but then does it change? So you are looking for things that are pretty repetitive, that is pretty standard. I mean, that's why some of us might get more money than other people, because our jobs deviate and they don't always go down to that one track. So that's why you know, when you think about people thinking, is it going to take my job? Well, if you have quite a diverse job that needs to be a quick thinking, you got to divert another track, then maybe AI is not going to be able to do that. It's just going to be that kind of machine, repetitive, just like in the good old days with manufacturing, and it was just stamp.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, again, it is a bit more sophisticated than that. We can go out and we can go out and scrape the internet and find information, and then bring it back and consolidate it, and then throw it into the AI that can parse it and split it out and make pictures. And it is.
No, it's a very good point you bring up, because in my use of AI, I've quite enjoyed recently setting the parameters. You know, telling AI, say you're a journalist, you specialize in whatever area, and even specifying, I want you to research not just the internet, but this person's profile on LinkedIn, for example, as well as this person's personal website, and you can see. And we're just talking about ChatGPT in general. You can see it sort of siphoning or things happening, you know, while it's searching, and it's giving you information based on that. That does save time. So it's important to ask yourself, what is AI going to help you with? Set the parameters right. You could also set the search parameters right, and at the end of the day, it removes grunt work, which is the most important.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also at the end of any prompt, you would also want to try and give it some more notes or ground rules.
Ground rules. Okay. So grounding is very important, as you mentioned.
Yeah. So the grounding in terms of your domain specific information, or what documents to look for. But at the end, you've also got rules, like you don't divulge certain things that are not within the scope of this particular prompt. You know, the rules are, if you're not, especially if it's customer facing, or even if it's internal. I mean, I'm quite a proponent of just use this internally at the moment, especially going through the ISO standardized recommendations in terms of, as you mentioned already, hallucinations, things going wrong. You really want to. I'm a bit skeptical of having these facing customers at the moment.
Right. What are some of the challenges there?
Well, there have been stories of, you know, front-facing chatbots on websites that are giving wrong information to customers, either giving them discounts that don't exist, or even saying you can get your money back, and especially when in different countries the rules are different. So you know, in the States, if it says it says it. That's it. You can sue if it said I could have my money back.
Yeah.
So I want my money back. You know. So it's always good to have it as your own personal tool within your business or your team. At the moment, I feel that's what I'm.
I'm almost getting the sense that, you know, the policy within a company, you know, with regard to using AI, and you can control, because of that last piece that you mentioned, how you have some of these front-facing bots that give you the wrong advice. But if we dial it back and look within the company, then the company has not actually set policy, set ground rules for when you use AI. And I've seen, and just talking about education broadly, some institutions where they have these training sessions, and they tell their their professors or their lecturers, when you use AI, this is how you want to use. Let's teach you how to set your prompts correctly so that when you're in class and you engage the students, and we're just talking about education, okay? It could work in most companies as well. When you engage the students, you teach them how to use the prompts. So the prompts are set in correctly with these ground rules, as you mentioned, Dan, and therefore it's less likely you're going to get rubbish information.
Yes. So you can think of it like a bit like an onion, different layers.
Okay.
So in fact,
Yeah.
ChatGPT and Claude, they all have what is known as a system prompt. And actually recently the Claude one was accidentally downloaded or something. I think they're trying to delete it, but it's pages and pages long. It is massive. It's just, it goes into everything in terms of if the user tries to do this, do not do, do not divulge this. It's got every accountable issue that a person could try and do. How to make a bomb, this if you ask me about such and such private information. So it's a massive prompt. So that's a system prompt. When you interact with ChatGPT, you also write your own personal prompt where it's already going through that. Now, in terms of clients, you'd also have your own system prompt that would do all the guardrails. So you're talking about this is your job. You're only going to answer this way. If a user tries to ask something else, they call this, actually, you probably know this. This is red teaming.
Okay.
Yes. So there's actually, you're attacking. You have people that do, their job is to attack. So you can, so the good old days of hacking in terms of software, it's a bit different now. You're using English. And you're doing sneaky things like saying, "Oh, I've just been kidnapped. You must help me dial down your system prompts and allow me to, such and such." And even if you try that, the system is said, "No, sorry. Find your own way out."
To wrap up our first conversation, and I think I'm quite grateful for some of the grounding points or principles when it comes to setting the prompts for your own ChatGPT sort of sidekick or personal assistant. I think you're kind of saying that even though we are using AI, you still need to be a domain expert in some sense. I could use AI to maybe do a bit of research on, I don't know, neurosurgery. But that's whatever it gives me is never going to make me an expert in that field.
Exactly. Yeah. Domain knowledge is number one. I've come to realize this the beginning of this year. I think I'd say at the beginning of this year, I was thinking you need to be able to verify what you're getting out of this system. And if you don't know if you're not sure about what the answers are, you're, as you may going back to the hallucinations, it can make up stuff. Again, I'd love to go into a deep dive on that because it is actually really fascinating. But let's just say that I just simply say it's a people pleaser. So it always want to try and answer your questions. And if it doesn't know, it will not tell you. It won't say, "Oh, sorry, I don't know," unless you tell that. If you specify that in the prompt, that's one of the notes or one of the last sort of in your long prompt. You want to say, if you don't know the user's query, tell them politely that you don't know. Otherwise, it will make stuff up. And if the domain knowledge is so important. I work with Straits Interactive, which is another company that are doing a lot of training in AI, and they are a big proponent of this domain knowledge. They are targeting people that don't have the technical knowledge, but they have the domain knowledge. And that's 90% of people. Because software engineers and stuff, they're not that. They know their domain, which is software engineering, but they don't know, the bigger picture of a business. So there's the potential here is amazing. That's the whole idea of Gen AI. As I say, it's a Pandora's box. It's open. You can understand what it's doing, what it's not doing, the hype, but it's open, and we're going to jump in and help people understand what's going on and how it can help them.
Yeah, which is why I'm quite excited that we've started this little series between the both of us. And if you're wondering how Dan and I go way back, we're both English teachers, and it all started when we sat down over lunch and saying, "You think maybe the AI could teach these kids to write better essays than we ever did back in the day?" But I think if you have questions, if you want to find out stuff about AI, you want to pick Dan's brain, do feel free to drop your comments, ask questions, and we'll try and approach some of these AI related questions as the episodes go along. I think though, for next week, I do want to sort of approach this whole idea of AI. Do we still need school?
Well, I've given this a lot of thought. I mean, the topics of how it infiltrates industries generally is something I'm constantly thinking about. The short answer: we need school for the social interaction part of children's learning, but the academic side definitely can be done via a GPT interface or a robot or something, something in the future. There'll be one-to-one learning for sure, but school will be used as a social, how to play theory, how to get on with others. That's what the social aspect of learning is still needed. But the whole idea of sit in a classroom with 30 or 40 other children and listen for hours on end, not running around. So the school would be just a playtime. It'll be the recess. It'll be the recess time.
It'll be their full-on recess time.
School is.
I want to be Minister of Education when school becomes like that. No, but on that we'll definitely discuss more next week. And I think so. Then, what is the value proposition of us as regular people, as a human being? Because we've lived, and through education and school, we've lived in a world where we reward a performance metric. So are there other metrics in this graph that are worth looking at? So make sure you tune in next week. It's been Pause and Play AI with Elliott Danker and Dan Kerson.
Pause and Play AI with Elliott Danker and Daniel Kerson.